Was your great-grandparents alive when you were young?
Yes. My
Okay.
great-grandparents, no.
Yeah.
On the Albright side, my grandparents.
Okay. Okay.
And
Let's start with
so
them.
I can, but I really, I know who they were, and they're all buried in that cemetery on the hill.
Mm-hmm.
Starting like with Albert Albright, who was the son of Benjamin.
Mm-hmm.
You probably already know that Benjamin was from your mom, and Benjamin Albright was the one from that came here from North Carolina sometime like before 1830.
Yeah.
And we don't know for sure. I don't know for sure where he settled when he came here first, and tried to find it out. And I remember my dad saying he drove cattle and whatever from North Carolina, and he said and something about Old Fairground Hill, which is Mount Vernon area.
Mm-hmm.
And at the very beginning, when I started hearing about Albright history and stuff, prospect was, or the thought was that Benjamin was buried in a cemetery. Maybe on somebody had told my uncle Albert Albright that his grandfather was buried in a cemetery up on Old Fairground Hill. But we've looked and researched that and talked to people and can't find any record of that.
Yeah.
We don't know where he is buried, except I have kind of figured it out that there's this old cemetery it's on the John Scoggins farm, what was the original John Scoggins on Ottawa Road. There's an old cemetery back in one of his fields that has Albrights buried in it. And it is Benjamin's second wife's family.
Yeah.
His first wife, his wife had died in North Carolina, and she didn't come here with him. And he had, like, when he came here, he had like 4 boys. He had Uriah, who was the oldest, and William H., and Albert, and Archibald.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a daughter named Elizabeth. You know all that for sure. I'm saying
Yeah.
You know that. You already know that. You've heard
That's
that.
okay. Well, I just always think
I just think it's really unique that I don't know where he lived with those kids, because they were none of them. They were getting to be grown up when he got here with them.
Yeah.
But we don't know where he settled at, unless it was this place that was on the Dug Hill Road.
Yeah.
Where the old house used to stand. That his second wife and his son by that second wife lived in that old house.
Mm-hmm.
And that family, part of them, he, sometime or other, he met this another and married. After his other kids got grown and started another family, and they lived on like what's Dug Hill Road, and a lot of that property is now like over like what we'd call Negro Creek area.
Yeah. Well, you talk about his first 4 kids there. I just think Uriah, right, is that's about as unique name that there is. I don't think I've ever heard anybody with that name, but that is the unique of the unique.
Okay, Uriah, his son Uriah, settled in the Wilde area, and he is buried in the Scalpel Cane Cemetery, and his family are buried over there. And most of them, as the family grew up, some of them, there was one that was a doctor in Williamsburg, Barberville, somewhere in that area. And we never had, my dad had contact with some of them like in the early days, but I guess because of the way of travel and stuff, people didn't. But the way they scattered out, like Uriah was in that area. Albert was the one that was on 70, and in that he had land there. Mm-hmm. Archibald was like out at Lick, and he's buried in the cemetery there at Lick. He's got a stone up. You probably know that already. And Uriah, no, who did I leave out? Albert,
Archibald, Uriah.
Elizabeth married Absalom Brown and lived in the Freedom area, which scattered them out around the county, pretty well.
Yeah. So when they got here, I mean, so you said about 1830-ish? Okay, I'm trying to think of the time frame. Rockcastle, I've been a county for about 20 years.
Yeah.
So, those kind of things was established. But there is a lot of Albrights in Rockcastle County as well. Are all those related to the same ones, or have we got different?
I don't know of anybody else that they're related to.
Wow.
I have not found any other Albright.
Yeah.
Well, the only Albright in that line, Benjamin, that we have pretty much proved that his father's name was George Albert Albright. He was born in 1766 in Guilford County, North Carolina, and he had a big family there. He had two families. He was married 2 times, and he had lots of children by each woman. And so it's hard to tell. We do know, which one was Benjamin's mother, but the ones that are his siblings, we don't know anything about, and we can't find a record of Benjamin's birth in North Carolina.
Oh, wow!
And so we've had all kinds of speculation, like maybe his mother had died, and maybe there was a Holt family. One of the George Albert family married a Holt, and they're involved with the Benjamin line, and so we just really haven't been able to prove it. But I've been to North Carolina looking for records, and been to the cemetery where George Albert is. We have definite proof that George Albert's father was Ludwig. Okay, and then Johannes is the immigrant.
Oh, okay, and from Johannes, Germany, England, Germany.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say that sounds German.
Yeah.
But okay, well that's pretty.
So there's a lot of documentation about that.
Yeah.
And so, but where the block is between Benjamin and George Albert. That, of course, I call it a block because I do DAR, and in order to be accurate about it, you've got to have a document. You know?
Yeah.
And so we haven't found the document, but circumstantial court records and a lot of different things point to that we are right about who that is.
Yeah.
And names. If you do this enough, you'll know that families name same names all down the line.
Yeah.
And there's a bukus of Alberts and Georges in the Albright line.
Yeah.
So there's descendants from that George Albert, and there's another George Albright. It would have been his first cousin. He had a first cousin or two named George. But we go by the birthday. We have to, when you say George Albert, you've got to say, I think it's 1766. I'm not really positive about that. But anyway, and that he's the son of Ludwig. And then it goes into, and this cemetery that's in Guilford County, North Carolina, is just a real interesting place to go. And the tombstones are in German, and but then somebody in the family has put English stones in front of them.
Okay.
And so you can tell, where they're, but it's all right in that very same area.
Wow. And
when they started to leave North Carolina, like Benjamin had a brother that we, through all this research that we did, had a brother named Joel, who went to Carroll County, Tennessee, and then some of them went on to, and actually Archibald, who is one of Benjamin's sons, Archibald, he came here and then went on to, he had started west, got as far as St. Louis, and probably met up with the cholera or something. But he met a family there, and he married one of their girls and brought her back to Pulaski County out in the wilderness, in the Woodstock, the D-Lick area.
Yeah.
And he had a sawmill and so forth out there. Maybe another kind of mill, I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah.
But I don't know that. But anyway, he lived in Illinois for a while, and in St. and there's documentation of that.
Yeah.
But anyway, he came back to lived in the edge of Rockcastle and Pulaski. Actually, his death certificate and stuff was from Pulaski County,
Mm-hmm.
and
That's pretty. Well, it's pretty neat how they spread out.
Yeah, yeah.
And oftentimes a lot of people came to Kentucky, and then after a while they even went farther west.
Yeah.
With a lot of settlers.
Well, yeah. Archibald, we think probably. And he is the one that is the ancestor of Carol Ann Van Hook and Jean Allen and them.
Mm-hmm.
And Miss Vivian Robbins and them. That's their line.
Yeah.
And that was Archibald.